That means going to the Abasto market. As you approach it, there are these big signs warning you that it is a contagion area.
35 leves.
¿Está bien?
Sí, está bien.
But people still go. The Abasto market is the central market in Mexico City. It's probably the biggest market in all of Latin America. It's 800 acres of fruit and vegetable stalls, meat, anything you could possibly want food-wise is in this market. Every single day, 500,000 people either shop at or work at this market. He starts his day at about 4 in the morning with his son, and then works all day long, 7 days a week.
La mayoría de gente, aquí depende mucha gente, muchas familias. Entonces no se puede cerrar, no. Este mercado es el centro del coronavirus. ¿Tú tienes miedo? No. ¿Por qué no? Hay más miedo morirse de hambre. Más miedo es morirse de hambre.
And does he come into contact with people? Of course he does. Is he aware that there's a virus out there? Of course he is. But there's not a damn thing he can do about it. They can't pause to deal with the virus. They don't have enough cushion, enough of a safety net to pause for a month or 2 or 3 to get over it and to really understand it.
In Mexico, half of the population lives under the line of poverty.
Hugo Lopez-Gatell is their coronavirus czar.
Es nuestra última oportunidad.
And he gives the daily press briefings that people watch. He gives the appearance of progress, but in reality the government isn't doing very much. Nobody knows the number of COVID cases in Mexico City because they're not testing.
There's a moment in which you have way too many cases that you cannot handle the testing and the action that corresponds to that testing.
It sounds like you're not testing by choice as opposed to not testing because you can't.
Absolutely. Thank you for putting that out. That's the exact answer.
There's an old expression, don't ask questions you don't want to hear the answers to. And that's exactly what's happening in Mexico. Why test if the answer you're going to get is something you can't deal with?
I think that's a mistake. Testing should be available for the entire population and also for the medical professionals.
Fernando Avillas has been a paramedic for 28 years. The lack of testing was driving Fernando crazy. Why do you think they're not doing it? Why do you think they've decided, nope, we're not going to do much testing?
They must know something that we don't know as a general population. Maybe they just want to restart the economy again, or maybe they just want to keep their numbers low and nice looking.
He recognized that there's not much that Mexico can do about the COVID situation, but he hated the fact that they were keeping the numbers down. And we spent a couple of days following him around. How many of the patients that you're transferring now are COVID patients and not just normal sick people?
For the last couple months, 95% of the patients, 95 have been COVID-related.
95.
That is correct.
And now he was having to drop off patients at places where he knew the care was substandard.
So I go from my first option, normally a good medical center with most of all the resources, but considering those are at full capacity, I got to go to a second one. The level of care is poor, but it's better than nothing. So at least they have a bed. a hospital setting.
Basic, very basic.
Yes.
Not up to the level of
Not up to the level.
of what a COVID victim needs.
Yes. After many years as a medic, you are less sensitive to situations and to kids dying when you have them on your hands and to family members crying next to you. But it's really been hard.
Since they're not stopping the virus, it's going to keep coming back. It's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. I think COVID-19 is going to divide the world even more than it is. And what goes for Mexico is going to be the same across the developing world. And eventually, when there is some sort of, and let's hope it's soon, a vaccine or a drug, they're going to be the last people who get it. If this vaccine is developed in the United States, they know it's going to go to Americans first.
What would you do if you were the head of state of a developed country? Well, you better take care of your population first. That's pretty obvious and simple to understand. Yes, I think that Mexico and some other countries will be second-class world citizens in that way.
I left Mexico very depressed. I was incredibly impressed by the ingenuity and drive of the doctors and people like Fernando, but I got the impression they're never going to get over this. People who are unfortunate enough to have been born into difficult economic situations, it's going to be even harder for them to get out of it. The divide between the rich world and the poor world is going to be even more extreme. Having traveled around the world covering COVID, one thing has become abundantly clear, that this pandemic has exposed three fundamental divisions. There are countries that can act and did. There are countries that can't because they're generally too poor. And most disturbing of all, there are countries that could have acted, but who responded in such a chaotic and disorganized way that they failed. And I would put the U.S. at the top of that list.